In the dim, cold depths of the Agen Allwedd cave system, two divers prepare to break the cardinal rule of their craft. What began as a quest for discovery soon unravels into a struggle for survival, where every decision could mean the difference between life and death. This is the gripping story of Farr and Roger Solari, two adventurers whose unrelenting drive to uncover the unknown leads them into the darkest, most treacherous depths of the earth, where the pursuit of exploration meets the harsh reality of nature's unforgiving challenges. Cave explorers are a rare breed. They're drawn to the thrill of venturing into places untouched by human hands, where the next step could reveal a world no one has ever seen. Martin and Roger were among the most skilled of this breed, having spent years honing their craft in the most challenging cave systems in the UK. By 1974, they had already made a name for themselves, but their ambition was far from sated. Their latest challenge lay deep within the Agen Allwedd cave system in South Wales. The system was already partially mapped, but a recent discovery by fellow explorer John Parker had revealed a third sump, a water-filled tunnel that marked the end of the known world in this labyrinth. For most, reaching this sump would have been enough. But for Martin and Roger, it was merely the beginning. The duo was determined to push beyond the limits of the known cave, to dive deeper into the darkness where no one had gone before. Sumps are notoriously dangerous. They demand precision, skill, and an unwavering focus. A short sump might be navigable with a single breath, but longer ones, like the third sump they aimed to explore, required full scuba gear and nerves of steel. The risks were immense, and when Roger injured his knee before the dive, Martin was faced with a fateful decision: turn back or dive alone. The rule is simple: never dive alone. But the call of the unknown was too strong. Martin made the choice to go on, aware that without a partner, even a minor mistake could become fatal. The journey to the third sump was a grueling 4-hour trek through tight tunnels, boulder chokes, and near-impossible squeezes. The cave seemed to resist their progress at every turn, as if guarding its secrets. They had to haul their heavy diving gear through these treacherous passages, a task that would test their endurance and resolve to the limit. As Martin reached the first sump, he steeled himself for the dive ahead. The first two sumps were difficult but manageable: 250 feet and 85 feet of submerged claustrophobic tunnels. The water was cold and dark, the silence absolute, save for the rhythmic sound of his breathing. He knew the third sump would be longer, more challenging, and potentially more dangerous. With a deep breath, Martin submerged and began the long swim into the third sump. The tunnel stretched out before him, 850 feet of uncharted territory. The further he swam, the narrower the passage became, pressing in on him as if the cave itself was testing his resolve. But Martin's excitement grew with each stroke. He was exploring the unknown, driven by the thrill of discovery. When Martin finally emerged in a small air chamber, he was exhausted but exhilarated. He had reached a point no one else had seen, a small victory in a larger battle. He left his diving gear behind and pressed on, crawling through a winding, narrow path that seemed to go on forever. After 1,800 feet, he reached another sump, his heart racing at the thought of what might lie beyond. But reality quickly set in. His air supply was running low, and he still had the journey back to contend with. The fourth sump would have to wait. The return journey would be just as grueling, but now with the added pressure of dwindling air and fatigue setting in. Martin knew he had pushed himself to the limit, but turning back was the only option. As he retraced his steps, the cave seemed to close in around him, every turn a reminder of how far he had come and how far he still had to go. The boulder chokes and narrow passages that had challenged him on the way in were now potential death traps. Martin's breaths grew shallower as he forced himself through the tight spaces, each minute a battle against time and his own exhaustion. When Martin finally reached the first sump on his return, he was nearly out of air. The swim back through the sumps was a desperate race, his body pushed to its breaking point. The cold water and the oppressive silence weighed heavily on him as he fought to keep moving, his mind focused only on the need to survive. With each stroke, his air dwindled, and the walls of the cave seemed to close in tighter. Martin knew that he had pushed beyond what was safe, and now he was paying the price. The return journey felt endless. Every inch gained a victory in itself. But finally, he saw the dim light of the surface ahead, a beacon of hope in the dark, cold world he had ventured into. When Martin surfaced, he was gasping for breath, his body and mind exhausted. But he had made it. He had survived the dive that could have been his last. The cave had tested him to his limits, but he had emerged victorious. Yet as he sat there, catching his breath, he knew that the true challenge lay ahead. The next dive, the next uncharted territory, the next test of his resolve. He contacted Roger to plan their next expedition, the thrill of adventure still burning bright, despite the dangers. They would need more air, more preparation, and even greater resolve to explore the fourth sump. The allure of the unknown was too strong to resist, even though the risks were now more apparent than ever. For Martin and Roger, the true reward lay in the challenge itself. On June 15, 1974, Martin and Roger returned to the Egg and RF cave system, determined to push even further. The cave was unforgiving, but their resolve was unshakable. They switched to fresh tanks and prepared for the dive ahead, knowing that this time the stakes were even higher. The silence was heavy as they approached the third sump, the weight of what lay ahead pressing down on them. As they began their dive, the cave seemed to come alive around them, a living entity that both challenged and beckoned them deeper. Every movement was calculated, every breath a reminder of the thin line between success and disaster. The fourth sump was waiting, a gateway to the unknown that they were determined to pass through, no matter the cost. But as they reached the fourth sump, the ominous silence returned. The cave felt different this time, as if it was warning them to turn back. The walls seemed to close in tighter, the water colder and more oppressive. Both men knew that a single mistake could spell disaster, yet they pressed on, driven by the same insatiable desire that had brought them here in the first place. For Martin and Roger, the line between triumph and tragedy was razor-thin, and on that day, they would discover just how fine that line could be. The story of their expedition would serve as both a cautionary tale and a testament to the unyielding spirit of exploration, a reminder that in the pursuit of the unknown, the greatest challenge is often within. The tale of Martin Farr and Roger Solari is a stark reminder of the razor-thin line between triumph and tragedy in the world of extreme exploration. Their journey into the Egg and RF cave system stands as both a testament to the indomitable spirit of human curiosity and a cautionary tale about the perils that lie in wait beneath the surface. As they pushed the boundaries of what was known, they also discovered the true limits of their resolve. Their story continues to resonate as a powerful example of the courage and determination required to explore the unknown, even when the greatest challenges come from within.